Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 184 of the F.Reality Podcast. Today is all about games, with a side serving of VR locomotion. We'll be giving you our hands-on impressions of both Zombieland, Headshot Fever, and Cosmodread. Steam VR added a nice update, which will be helpful to VR streamers, and I'll give you my first impressions after trying out the new Decagear hip tracking module called the Decamove. To round up the show, Zimmer's got some new releases for you to look forward to next week. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the week this week. And also, let us know what your highlights are in the chat so we can read out some of those too. First up, this guy discovered this week whilst deep in space that he has an irrational fear of twins. And I'm not talking about the Olsen twins. It's VR streamer. It's ZimTalk5. How you doing?
Yeah, you love those twins, man. It's weird. Like, I thought it was a glitch the first time I came across them, and then I found more. And it's like twins seems to be a thing in that game. Yeah, Cosmodread, that was good fun. Enjoying that. Talking about that a little bit later. So my week's been very full. My whole 2021 has been very full. But yeah, things are warming up, trying to get ready for the Canada move and stuff like that. So for those who hadn't heard, I'll be moving later this year. Just trying to process the visa now and then flogging the house and stuff like that. But my week, I would say my highlight of the week, I have two highlights. I'll couple them together. They're both short. The first one is just enjoying an old game, enjoying Ultra Wings, because I used to play Ultra Wings, probably 3 to 4 years ago. And like I went back to it and I was like, you know what? I never really took this seriously. I never really tried to beat the game. I just flew around, got to one island.
Did you play, you only played the party mode where you have to catch balloons and things like that?
Well, so I finally unlocked that. I never got to that before, which I find quite daunting. So basically, in one hand, you're controlling, your plane, whatever aircraft you're using. In your other hand, you've got a gun, and of course in VR, you've got to properly aim down the sights, and you got to shoot balloons while you're moving. So it's kind of like 6 degrees of combat in flying. But that isn't the part that really took my breath. It was unlocking the rocket ship, which is like some German V2 that you strap yourself into. And then this thing propels off the runway, and then it cuts out. Like that's it. You get a burst of energy, you're in the skies, and then it starts to nosedive, and then you've got to do it again. So you got like about 3 shots, and then the thing is dead. And then you just have to glide the way down and make sure you find your way to an airport. So that's been a little bit shocking to me. I thought that it was just going to be like simple planes all the way through the game. It's not. But it's been such a joy. It's really like a chill game, and I've enjoyed that up in the skies.
But it's also nice. You can put it on arcade mode, or you can play it as a simulation. So even if you're a dummy, if you're a noob, and you're still reading the manual while you're flying, you can just play it too.
Well, that's actually what got me onto it, because after Christmas, like I was talking, you guys might remember, I was talking to my dad about Flight Simulator, and I was like itching for flight sims. Played DCS and a few other games, and I was like, what do we have on Quest? There's almost nothing. And one thing that we do have is Ultra Wings. And I've seen a hint that Ultra Wings 2 is in the works, so I kind of got itchy about it, and I went playing it. And it's just a nice thing to play at this time of year, especially when you're still kind of trapped in. It's nice to kind of drift around, look at some yachts, and crash into them on occasion. It's good fun for that. So
definitely, I found that especially with Microsoft Flight Simulator, it almost felt like liberating. Being up in the sky, the freedom to explore the countryside. I really felt that sense of like getting out there. Which obviously we've been missing.
It's
the last year.
It's like a mental levity that you get from these.
Definitely.
It's just something about that motion, this like smooth, glass-like on rails in the air motion. It's nice.
Although you don't get that smooth motion unless you're like got a 3090 on Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's not smooth on any other card, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. No, not in that game. Not at all. And then the second highlight I'd say is just the other night I got together with 5 people playing Oceancraft, which I mentioned last week, which is basically a raft survival game where you build a raft, you gather components, and you craft and you build. And it was just really nice. Like we were talking about Oculus Rooms the other podcast 1 or 2 ago, and it was probably the closest experience to that, because you're just hanging out, you're talking, you're kind of sitting around a barbecue, grilling some vegetables, eating them, trying to just keep your health bar up or whatever. But it's just really like low key and chill. And there aren't that many VR games where you can just kind of hang out together. I mean, even Rec Room and VR Chat are not chill games generally, right? They're the opposite energy.
Although Serpo's saying that it wasn't so chill for him, he said that you left him to die on a raft.
I might have done that, yeah.
Only realizing now.
So this is the real Zim. He's getting exposed.
Well,
the more people are in danger around him, he's more chill.
Will you also do this to this show, when it's on fire? Are you going to leave first?
That's what happened at the end of the show last week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was super chill. Everything else was on fire.
That's right, yeah.
That's how you know who's to blame, you see.
True.
Yeah. So those are my highlights, yeah.
Nice. Good highlights. Also, where can we get the raft game from?
So this is applab.games. You can get it.
Okay.
And it's about, so Ocean Craft is, I'm trying to remember the price. It was around about a tenner, maybe £6, I think, or about $10. Yeah.
Nice.
So well worth it. Good fun.
Cool. Next up, this guy wants to take Beat Saber to another level. He's planning to slay those cubes with his tongue alone whilst using the new HTC Vive facial tracker. It's, of course, Nathy. How you doing?
Hey, right. It was just a suggestion, okay?
Can you show us what that would look like?
Like that, right? I mean, it's
amazing.
Pretty simple. Just go up, down, left, right.
It's funny because when you posted that tweet, there was a guy called Jimster71, shout out to you, who tweeted they should rename the game Beat Slobber.
Beat Slobber.
Yeah. If any devs out there can make it happen, please. I want to see this video.
I do want to see some silly, mods for this facial trigger. Imagine this would be an official DLC for only the people who bought.
Wouldn't you be worried about? I don't know what it's called, but that little tendon that connects your tongue. Like, wouldn't you worried about snapping that? I remember a dude in my high school snapping that, like, first makeout session or whatever. It was apparently very painful. I don't know what it's called, but I think.
Imagine going to the hospital trying to explain that one as well.
During a makeout session?
Yeah, a little too aggressive.
How?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Well, so what about other than dreaming of playing Beat Saber with your tongue? What else have you been up to this week?
Well, I finally got to play on my PlayStation 5.
Hey.
And it was freaking fantastic. It was next level for sure. Really. I played Astro's Playroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the name. For some reason, I always think that I'm talking about that older game on the PlayStation VR, where there were also these Astro bots and you had like a couch game going
Playroom.
on.
Yes.
Playroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Playroom, so that's why it sounds so similar. Well, Mike already warned me for the fact it was going to blow my mind, and I wasn't like I was in the menu and I already put my brain next to me on the couch because my God, the fact that these controllers can simulate everything and let you feel everything from glass to metal and sand and grass and things like that, it really works. It's not a gimmick. It's adding something to the experience, because after I played Astro's Playroom and I was like, oh, hey, this is amazing. Let's download all these games. Then like half of them didn't even work with the controller and you instantly miss it. Yes. After playing an hour with them, you're like, oh, boring. This game doesn't have it. Like, it kind of killed my excitement for some of the like AAA games that just don't support it yet. So I do hope developers are going to make that thing. But the controller, simulates all these different like materials and also physics. And next to that, like the adaptive triggers, because we're not even talking about that yet. This is just the haptics, right? But that part was also like great, where you had to, I don't know, like they should make Astrobot 2, basically. That's what I'm going to say now. But you get a crossbow. So the freaking little robot has a crossbow, a bow and arrow to be more precise. And you have to use the adaptive triggers to like aim, and you can like it's way easier and also harder at the same time to aim at your targets. It's more realistic, but also makes you more accurate in ways. So then I'm like, I want to play Horizon Zero Dawn with that. I want to play this. I want to play that.
Can you explain that a bit better? Like I don't understand. How does the sense, like the tactile part of the controller, make it more difficult or easier?
So it's basically what it does. It's like pushing your trigger a little bit in. It's like adding force to it, so you can't completely push it in. Well, you can, but you have to try real hard to do it.
So like the tension on the trigger adapts to different mechanics in game.
But
so
so I get that, but like when you're aiming, why are you
because you
depressing
feel
the
it,
trigger?
because you
That's what I mean.
feel the string. You feel the string that you're pulling.
When he's pulling the bow back, you
right.
can feel the tension in the bow when you pull it with the trigger.
You can feel exactly where it is. So if it's somewhere in the middle or something like at the end of like you pulling it to the max. So it's more accurate. It gives you more like info on the gaming side.
So it's like the lab archery experience plus.
Well,
like it's it's like the next version of that. Because I remember feeling that and being like really impressed. But this is beyond
and
that.
this is just a gamepad. And in the intro, the controller is also completely tracked, so you can turn it around and stuff and inspect it. But this makes me excited, and that's weird to say in 2021 that I'm excited for more seated experiences with this gamepad in VR, like we had with Static and a few others, Astrobot as well. It's also a seated experience. So it's weird where, you know, on the PC side and also the Oculus Quest, we seem to be more moving into standing experiences, room scale, etc. Well, this is like a subgenre on its own that I want more of. So,
but if we get all that tech in the new motion controllers, then we can have the best of both, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's as you said, it's a huge tease. There are like hints to different games from PlayStation, also VR ones like the Shark demo, Beat Saber, and a few others. It's just like it was like bullying me in some way, saying like, haha, you can't have this. But it's so nostalgic because while you play this, you dive into your PlayStation. So they just pretty much tell you like, this is the CPU, you can dive in there, the music is fun, and you find like things from the past, like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, but also the aim controller, the adapter for the PlayStation VR. Dude, like when I found that, I was like, it just brought back so many like fun games that I played, you know? I was like, I would connect this at any time and play more. So yeah, Astro's Playroom, even for someone who is just playing it on a pancake screen, but is a VR enthusiast, it's a blast, man. It's really fun.
Awesome. It's so good. And like talking about the adaptive triggers, like it really does add something to the experience. And I've been jumping back into like Call of Duty. Like I used to be into it a lot back in the day, like multiplayer and zombies, getting back into it with Cold War just recently. And what I find is after you play for like 2 hours, your like fingers are developing muscles you never knew they had. You're getting that resistance on the triggers on both of them. It's really, really cool. So really cool.
Out of curiosity, just to clarify, so are there any VR experiences which have been upgraded to use the controllers right now? No,
it doesn't work. No, you can't use the controller, this controller on the PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah,
or PlayStation VR. Sorry,
VR
Sadly
period.
not.
Yeah,
yeah.
Soon. Yeah, very exciting stuff though. Very cool. Astro's Playroom. Definitely check it out. It's free as well if you buy
it's
PS5.
free. Yeah, it's free.
Yeah, amazing. So next up, this guy has finally earned the Medal of Honor. Having spent so much time behind enemy lines, he can now speak fluent German. It's the one and only Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And the reason why it took me so long to finish this game is because I first took a 2-month course speaking German in order to really get like the full experience, of course, before even starting with the
That's
game.
commitment. Yeah.
That's commitment, right? I only didn't know that they spoke German in like this kind of like just English with like a special kind of accent for the majority of the game. But yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely my highlight, you know, finishing that game. You know, I said I would get back to it and give my impressions on it. And I have to agree that, you know, the first part of the game is definitely the strongest part. I do think that the story, it doesn't really pick up. It feels a bit bland. The characters are annoying, especially the dude that looks like Harry Potter. Holy crap.
Oh,
like,
that's what it's
Ollie. Yeah.
Ollie, man, like I shot that guy so often in the face, hoping he would never return, but he always came back. And then also, I don't know why, but I felt sometimes a little bit like I was the little kid with special needs that they brought onto the mission as well. Because, well, first off, like all the characters are so bloody tall in that game. Like they're like 2 hats taller than me, and I don't know if that's some kind of setting that they don't have my height right, or you guys experience that as well. But like in the beginning, it didn't notice me that much, but then afterwards, when you start meeting more and more of the characters, like almost every single one was like a freaking giant every time. I don't know why that was happening. Also, it's not really bug free. The game, I encounter quite a bit of bugs in the game, like levitating characters or scenes that kind of started playing but only the audio, or that they were like still glitching into each other or stuff like that. I had that a lot. So in terms of technical difficulties. The game had quite a few. I still had fun though. I still find it a fun game. I had a good time finishing it. I wish for certain things that they kind of took like a different approach. With VR, like there's so much immersion, and I'm the kind of player who would likes to soak all of that up and like take my time when I go through things. But sometimes I felt like the levels were a lot rushed. You have a particular thing where you go down a slide and the person behind you is steering that bloody thing. But she doesn't steer for some reason. I just fly into the cars, just like into every car that I encounter. She just drove me in there. Don't really know why, but I kind of felt like those kind of things were a bit like unnecessary. I preferred that they would have taken more like the realistic take, like they were portraying this in the videos as well, with like you have those scenes of like real interviews with like war heroes and all of that, and that feels like a very different tone from the game, which is like kind of humorous, and like comedy. The Nazis are really dumb in this game. Like they're incredibly stupid, that AI. Like I literally could go in with that carbine rifle and just like shoot everyone.
It's weird, right? Like some missions
getting shot
are extremely serious, and you're like, whoa, okay, this is intense, and you can even decide to skip them. But there are also moments where you're like, wait, is this? It feels like a total different title. But what I'm wondering is, did you find any more Goebbels?
Oh yeah, I found a ton.
So just to sort of like recap, so like you like me wanted it to be a bit more gritty and dark and a bit more realistic, whereas I think that was one of the biggest sort of like things that me and Zim didn't agree on. Like Zim wanted a more light-hearted game because he wanted to have fun in the game, which I totally understand his point of view, but certainly from like a game that's based on...
It's not that I don't like that, but it doesn't match with the overall sphere that they're trying to bring with that Medal of Honor and interviewing those war heroes. Like it's either one or the other. Like you can make a very fun game, really entertaining, shooting Germans, very fun. Or you make it really gritty and really like this is like war. War is not fun, like you go through this and you struggle and you suffer, and that is what it is. But like the D-Day scene, like that was a disappointment for me.
Yeah, big time.
I could literally shoot the guys that were going out of my own boat. Didn't get punished for that. Just shot everyone. They were running towards the beach. Just shot them. Yeah.
The best part about that mission is that you sit in this boat. You're ready to fight. So you grab your gun. You're like ready to go. But then it puts it back into your holster the moment the doors open. So you're like, oh, where did my gun go? You're screwed. I would be dead in the real world, when that would happen. But
like
and they go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, just like dragging the explosives in the raft and then putting them on
all the things you could do on D-Day, that's the thing you do.
Yeah, I'm sometimes throughout the game, especially towards like when the missions became a bit repetitive, and I felt sometimes a little bit like a delivery boy. You go over there and pick that up, and then come back here and give that here, and then if you find Nazis, kill them, and that was it. Like it feels like, I don't know, like they put a lot of emphasis on the story, and I liked the beginning. I liked how it took off. It set the scene. It was much more a slower experience because you get those large planes and you walk through that hangar, and I was expecting more of that to happen. But towards the ending, I just ran through the levels, and if I saw a German, then he was gone. Even my own allies, I had to restart so often because like one of my stupid allies like opens a door and comes like running out, and I just shoot them.
They go all over the place.
German.
Like
the AI don't play with Rowdy very often, shooting allies.
Like seriously, if you just stand there and let the AIs fight it out, it's super funny because they're like all over the place. They're like trying to aim. But but
it's funny, like talking about Medal of Honor, I saw a tweet, I can't remember who tweeted it out this week, but someone mentioned that this game cost $40 million to make.
Freaking hell.
I'm not surprised though. If you look at all the stuff that all the video shoots, all the plane flights they had to make to various locations, and the assets in the game, I'm not surprised at the price.
And it's been years, dude. Like the first videos we saw of this game was with the Rift CV1 of all headsets. So it's been ages. But looking like it doesn't play like that, like a 45 million game. No, it could have been.
You know what else? Like even though I played this game, it's like I definitely committed war crimes. While playing this, like I did so many things you shouldn't have done. But nobody seems to care. Like they just go like, you're doing a good job.
Victory.
Every time, victory, and like really and. another thing that I found really strange was I couldn't speak in the game, of course. You had no voice.
Yeah.
But then I'm fine with that. But then I have to give like gestures in order to, do you agree to take on this mission? Give me a thumbs up. And I was just like, are you serious? Okay, then you give a thumbs up and okay, now go and kill some Nazis. And I'm like,
I don't remember any of the other Call of Duty or Medal of Honors that I played that were like a comedy adventure. I think they were all super serious. This is like the first where they're kind of joking around, right?
No, the first Medal of Honor Allied Assault was like it had a similar look to it. You know what I mean? And it was more of a fun experience. What happened was when they went later on to a different perspective from Medal of Honor. I think it was after the first 2 games, and then the third and subsequent games were very different tone. And I think there was definitely a place for that. I suppose for me going in, like I agree with a lot of what you're saying. So for example, the beach scene, absolute low part of the entire game. It's so disappointing.
And it should have been the highlight, right?
I think the thing is, it shouldn't have been the low spot. That's where I stand on it. Like I think it's a little bit cliched at this stage to make D-Day beach setting the thing that you want to go and do, because every World War II game has done that. And I liked what they did with the variety in this game. And for me, it was just, if you're looking for an arcadey FPS shooter that's high intensity and just, you can go right through it, you're not playing for the story. You're not. The characters are fine.
That's a bit of shame. That's a bit of a shame for me, at least. But I mean,
you're a story guy, though. So
I think exactly. Yeah. The highlight of it for me was definitely the giant gun. How is it called? Eartha or something like that.
Oh, that thing.
That.
Yeah.
I found that amazing.
Where it also like it shoots and your ears completely blow up for a moment.
Oh, I know.
It's like an iconic gun. If you know it from World War II stories and stuff, and you see it in real. And then to get to climb is amazing.
And I wish that they would have done more of those kind of things throughout the game, where you have like these kind of like iconic kind of things or scenic environments, and they do it. Don't get me wrong, they do it in a certain point. They do it with the plane. I think they do it near the ending. They do it in the beginning a little bit. They have like certain scenes where they do that, but I wish the emphasis was a bit more on it.
I think they could have
a fun game.
They could have made this game shorter and more focused on other parts of it to make it better. I think it drags on for too long because, as you said, it becomes a little bit of a wave-based kind of World War II shooter with shooting. But did you play the multiplayer as well or not?
No, I haven't tried it yet.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if people are watching and you're like, I don't know about
this,
the multiplayer.
You won't be able, man. There's no one playing it. Yeah, really. Okay. I mean, if you want to have a bash sometime, hit me up.
Sucks, man. It is a pretty game. It's gorgeous.
I think where they failed on this game in particular, right, is QA and editing. Like, to touch on Nathan's point there, I do think that the 14 hours that I put into it, like, it feels like a lot of content, but also the quality of that content and things that they could have cut. I agree with Rowdy. There are places where you start to feel it goes long in the tooth or repetitive.
Like what Mike said earlier, that it was costing like around 45 million. It blows my mind because Oculus didn't advertise it at all. It's like an expensive investment that doesn't go anywhere in the end, I
think they were just cutting their losses, weren't they? And just thinking, well, we're just going to focus on the
already
Quest, which is bringing the money in.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But yeah, nice. I'm glad you finally got to finish it anyway. Right?
Congratulations. Pin the medal on you.
Congratulations on your medal of honor.
Deutsch. My favorite line in that game, what the AI says, like, ich habe keine Money mehr.
What does that mean?
I don't have any ammunition anymore.
Oh, okay. Nice. So you learn something new every day when you tune into the show. So what about the chat? What have they been up to this week? Anything good?
Yeah, so we have Dave the Psycho who played Tiny Castles. Kukotron. What is Kukotron?
Kukotron is like it's another food preparation game. It's on App Lab.
Okay. Cubism, Zombieland, and Cosmodread. Then we have Devoltiverse who played Beat Saber and Pistol Whip. Best rhythm titles out there. And also Synth Riders is a great one to dive into. Then we have Darsh Angel who played some Warplanes, Flow Weaver, Catan, along with my usual suspects, Puzzling Places, and Solaris. Then we have Serpo 10 who dove into Battle Arena VR, Saints and Sinners, Oceancraft, yes. Well, he didn't survive that, right? And also Cosmodread. So Cosmodread is very popular. And last but not least, you have David Peters, who played Zombieland and Ultra Wings 2. So,
yeah. Right.
Nice. Another Ultra Wings fan. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So my highlight this week was definitely Cosmodread, but we're going to be talking about that very shortly. But one thing I wanted to share with you all this week is this 3D printed Vive facial tracker mount for the Valve Index.
Dude, that looks like a religious symbol. I just gotta say.
It does kind of, actually, yeah. It's not
the cult of Vive.
Oh.
Did it just say sex? Why did it say sex?
No idea. That was my watch. That was serious.
It's probably like what you. It's like a redial. It's like what you asked us last.
Please, I don't want to end another show here. Okay,
yeah,
we just started. No. Please.
No.
Oh my God.
So I knew it was only going to be a matter of time before the community came up with a decent mounting solution to mount the Vive facial tracker to the Valve Index. And this is one that came from the community. So props to Stefan Donnell on Twitter, who uploaded this 3D printed mount design to Thingiverse. It took me about an hour and 45 minutes to print. But it fits really well and just slots into place. And also, because it's kind of got a standoff section, there's enough room to kind of like route the cables underneath.
Okay.
Did you need a fastener for that, Mike, or was it just 3D printing?
No, so like the fastener that comes with the original mount, the little screw here, just screwed through it and attaches it in place, and it's pretty sturdy. So yeah, that just kind of slots straight into the front of the Valve Index and then just kind of hangs right in the right position.
How does it hold it there? It just looks like it just kind of slides in. Does it actually snap in, or is it just like a pressure fit?
This is the glorious frunk, and then it just kind of like slots into place like this.
Oh, so pressure fit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, pressure fit. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, it looks
you
nice.
could add some sticky pads if you wanted to hold it in place a bit more securely, but
it
does a pretty good job.
Yeah, that's nice.
Certainly a lot more elegant than using like a double-sided sticky foam tape. And if you're interested and you've got access to a 3D printer, I've added a link to it in the description down below of this live stream.
So can you now explain what happened to your watch?
I have no idea. So
is this something in your agenda that you? Maybe you might want to change it to after the show, because
after the podcast. What am I going to do next? Okay.
I'm not actually sure. I'm not actually sure what happened there. Siri trolling me live.
No, it's honestly terrible. It catches me out all the time. My phone just kicks off.
It's definitely becoming sentient here.
It's amazing.
Yeah. If it's not YouTube like bombing our stream, it's like everything else sabotaging us. Like our tech is sabotaging us.
Oh my
But yeah,
God.
also like worth noting, of course, that
please.
the facial tracker and the 3.0 trackers released in the US this week. So no doubt over the coming weeks we'll see some more interesting implementations of this tech.
I'm sorry, Mike. I haven't heard anything.
I forgot about everything.
Good. I'm glad I turned up.
I heard interesting implementations of this tech, and I just thought about the Apple Watch again. So
sure. It's understandable.
This was a good segment.
I should just put Siri on the show, to be honest.
Really good. We should invite her as a guest.
Oh my God.
So let's get into the news. Although the thing that I want to mention before we get into the news is about last week's live stream. So if you watched the show last week, you probably noticed that it
wasn't the watch. It wasn't the Mike's watch.
No, it wasn't my watch, but the show just completely dropped off without any sort of notice or anything like that, without us saying goodbye, which is very unusual for us. It confused us all because we didn't know what had happened. Everything was seen to be fine at our end. It seems, in our little investigation, that the topic of conversation around a particular game, which I'm not going to mention again because I don't want it to happen again, triggered the YouTube algorithm in flagging the stream and sadly automatically nuked it. That's our best guess anyway. We haven't had any official word from YouTube about it.
We did have a good conversation about it. And what it basically came down to, I don't think anyone heard this. Well, if you listen to the audio version, that we said like this game does not belong on the store and should
pretty
be,
much in summary.
You know?
Yeah. So yeah, apologies for the end of the show last week.
Yeah.
Now we know.
The name of the game is actually safe because they neutered it, if you remember. So I'll say that it's the Guy VR. Which was launched on Oculus, but they renamed it. If you look around the web, you'll figure out what it used to be called.
Even when you say that, I'm getting nervous for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. Anyway, so hopefully we'll be all right this stream.
Yeah.
So let's get into the news. First bit of news is that it was someone's birthday this week. Any guesses whose birthday it was?
I think I know.
Go on.
Was it Alyx?
Or was it?
It wasn't Alex's birthday. It was Jeff's birthday.
Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, right.
Jeff Keighley from the Game Awards.
No.
Oh, not that, Jeff?
The other famous Jeff.
Wait, I'm smelling something.
I could have swore.
Is that whiskey? Do you smell that?
No, it's vodka.
Vodka.
Oh, no, it's whiskey. It's whiskey. Yeah, no.
Nice. Yeah. So of course it was Jeff's birthday. Obviously to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Half-Life Alyx releasing, which released 1 year ago on the 23rd of March. And to celebrate the 1-year anniversary, Valve are currently dropping the price of the game, so it's 40% off on Steam right now until the 31st of March, meaning that you can pick up the game for £27.87 or $35.99 in US dollars.
Okay,
So,
that's not bad.
Voice.
And you're still getting it with the Valve Index as well when you buy it?
Ooh, good question. I'm not actually sure if they're still doing that
Or is
promotion
it
or
just
not.
a pre-order bonus? I think it was.
I think that was
Possibly.
a timed bonus. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Because remember, it was also if you had bought the controllers. So right now, if you just bought the controllers, if anyone's bought the controllers to pair, for example, with the Vive, they'd be able to tell us. I don't know how many people are picking up controllers just to pair with the Vive in these days, but you know.
There's still, when you look at the monthly revenue for Steam as a platform, the Valve Index bundle is always ranking pretty high, so it is still selling really well, which is great to see.
But it's also because it's a high price, so if one person buys it,
agreed. Yeah, true.
passes. I'm not saying that it's not, but
I'm curious now. Does that mean Valve's going to roll it into the Valve Complete collection? Because I used to pick that up, and it was amazing because you get all of Valve's games, but I doubt it's in there yet.
Imagine that
orange
like
box.
a Valve bundle of hardware in the future. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Some like full body suit with the Index and
But
something else.
the thing is, like a lot of games that you play and then play a year later, they're already dated. But this one is so good that if you play it now, it still feels like a brand new game. And for a lot of people, it never launched a year ago because it like launched right in the pandemic. You know, right
At the
before,
beginning,
right
yeah.
after the pandemic started.
Yeah. I remember vividly like PD jumping in my stream and saying that we're heading into lockdown in the UK, and that was the day that we found out. That was Alyx launch day. But the funny thing is, like, I jumped into Alyx this week. This is a little tease as to what I've been working on this last week. And I played Alyx with a Retina human eye resolution headset. It was insane. And honestly, it kind of like changed the game for me in a little way, because when I was going through it, I was just checking out all this amazing detail in the environments, and the detail is incredible in this game, and that's something that you probably take for granted when you just kind of blitz through it. But when you stop, like, there's newspapers that I could clearly read. I could read all the ingredients on the back of the beer can.
What resolution is that? Because human eye resolution, that's not really a thing.
Well, I don't want to give anything away. I will talk about it more on next week's show. I have talked about it before on
not
previous
even the
shows.
resolution.
No, I don't want to give anything away because it might give it will probably let you know what headset it is.
But we
if I give
don't have
too much
anything
away.
to talk about this show, so can you please say something?
I have a video dropping about it on Tuesday, I think, hopefully. But then I'll talk about it on next week's show. But yeah, it was pretty cool to soak up all that new information.
But this game is still ahead of its time. I mean, this could launch in like 2 years from now, and it would be still one of the best games, I think. That's just my prediction.
Well, I just hope
it kind of
game.
it blessed my gamer heart, but it also ruined my gamer heart, because after that I was like, what is all this like stupid like shuffleware that I'm still
Well, it
playing?
sets the bar, doesn't it? That's the problem, and nothing else has really come close.
I liked Alyx first through, but again, like I'm probably in the opposite corner to Rowdy here. I'm not as much a story guy. It's like if I watch a movie once, generally I don't watch it again. If I read a book once, I'm that type of person, right? So Alyx for me is like a once and done game, and the problem for me with once and done games is that it's hard to go back.
Not even with the mods.
This is the thing. I'm not generally a mod guy. I'm a vanilla guy. Like, ask me my favorite ice cream, vanilla. Why? Because it's like a good ice cream company will make an amazing vanilla.
What's your favorite crisp?
Ready salted.
Oh, dude, get out!
Seriously,
get out!
I think next to achievements, there isn't much replayability in the single player. To be honest, I mean, it is nice to. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Achievements and also hunting down some of the Easter eggs. But besides that, it's not like
the one thing that did draw me back, and this seems really, really shallow, or maybe glass half full, but it was the water physics that they added to the game.
Oh, the water physics,
bottle physics. You know, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, it's nice.
So I mean,
super nice game.
It's so funny because it's like it was such a bizarre patch to come out, but a lot of people appreciated that. You know, but
since then we haven't really heard much from the game, right? Nothing big that got released, but I mean the engine is doing really well. I mean, people are building all kinds of stuff We also spoke about it last week, with BioShock and so many other things that are just popping up. So it's amazing we have the mods, so you can stay entertained. You're not just buying the game, but you're also buying all the extras.
Actually, the horror stuff, I think, Mike, you recommended a horror game that was about 30, 45 minutes long, something like that. That was a mod to Half-Life Alyx. And also the Sadly It's Bradley stuff that he'd put out. So those kinds of campaigns, I appreciate those. I just never end up finding the time to do them either. I don't know why. It's just like, even Skyrim, and you guys know how much I love Skyrim, it took me like 4 years to even touch a mod with that game. So it is what it is,
Someone actually mentioned that they added dev commentary as well, so it'd be cool to play through it again with the dev commentary.
That is incredible. Like, I did that with Left 4 Dead back in the day, and the way they do that is just amazing. The one thing I heard about the dev commentary is that because of, again, the pandemic and the timing of it, the audio quality is haphazard throughout, which is unfortunate because they normally just nail that.
I also love Russell in that game. Like, he adds like the comic relief to like the tension and the stress of the game.
It's creepy.
Like, 1 minute you're like getting hunted down by a head crab, and then he's talking about like the construction of a BLT and like the different ingredients involved, and like Alex has never tried one before.
I mean that he's watching with you through the camera that you're wearing. Is giving you it's easier to play because it is like straight up creepy, man. It's like terrifying. There are certain like really levels I never go back
alone
to.
Right? You never feel really alone in that game, right? You have like something or someone there.
There are a few moments, and those are extra terrifying because of that. So they really play around with your feelings.
The emotional weight. I agree with you on that. But it's funny because I think if you blend a comedian into a game very well as you do. He's a famous Australian comedian or New Zealander. Is he Kiwi or is Aussie?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I could be causing a world war here, but the stream's about to cut right now. So I just think that when you do that and you do that successfully, irrespective of the genre of game, it really helps it, because one of the things I've learned in life is like comedy really wins. It tends to win over many other things.
People are saying he's Kiwi.
He's a Kiwi. Okay, good. So I'm glad I checked, because that's like the Canada-US thing. Like, the little brother does not like the big brother.
We almost got cancelled there.
Almost.
We pulled it back, guys.
But isn't it insane that a year later, we haven't seen that many other titles similar to Half-Life Alyx launch?
You mean like cloning it? Like copying it?
Well, on that level, where it's like a big budget AAA.
I think what Valve shows like time and time again is that how great of a writer team that they have, for pretty much every game that they have out there, and how much value there is in having a good writer team for a game. You can make it visually astonishing like Medal of Honor did, but if you don't have good writers who know how to tell a story, then it will just be pretty to look at, but not fun to play.
Yeah.
Well said.
So that is Half-Life Alyx. Came out a year ago this week.
We're getting old.
You can now get it 40% off. So if you haven't played it already, go and do it.
Imagine
what are you
if
doing?
Haven't played it yet.
Maybe wait until the end of the stream and then go play it.
Can someone please say in chat if you haven't played Alyx yet? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'd love to know why and what you've been doing with your life for the last year. So now let's get into our discussion about Cosmodread. This is a game that came out this week. Zim and I have been playing it a lot. We've both been playing it a lot.
Yeah.
Every time I turn on Zim's stream, he's playing it, and when I'm not watching him play it, I'm playing it myself.
Wait. So if you are playing it, Mike, does it mean that it's not that scary?
I would say,
because usually you're like, oh no.
No, I like scary games.
Oh,
you don't like scary games?
No, I don't.
We're the ones who don't like them.
Yeah. These guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's separate the men from the boys here a little bit, and let the big men talk about this game.
We're gonna do it that way.
We'll do that.
That's fine.
So Zim, obviously, being a big fan of this developer because he's the developer behind Dreadhalls, one of your favorite games. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
How did you feel about Cosmodread, having played it a fair amount?
I mean, it's funny because when you have a single developer and they create a piece of game artwork like Dreadhalls, and then they create another one, right? You do tend to see some commonalities that come across, right? So, like, there's some baddies in this that react almost exactly like the Dreadhalls equivalent. And again, I don't want to spoil this for anybody who hasn't picked it up yet or whatever, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But definitely, if you've played Dreadhalls, there are certain aspects that you'll see they've kind of changed the flavor of and represented them in a different light. What I feel is, though, I would like to congratulate White Door Games on making a game that does feel like a different game. This is not just Dread Halls in Space. It is a different game, and it is like the difference between, I would say, let's say, Sugar and maple syrup,
Flour.
right? The reason I'm saying that, Dread Halls is like a game that typically runs between, on the random mode, not just the single player, which is kind of rubbish. The random mode, where everything's procedural, 7 to 15 minutes. That's about its average run length. It's short, it's scary, there's a lot of adrenaline comes in, and if you want to scare your cousin, that's the game to throw them in. I would say Cosmodread, on its average, is probably going to take you, once you get acclimated to the game, like 30 to 60 minutes from what I'm seeing so far. I haven't beaten it yet, but I can kind of interpolate, because you've got to scan through the various bits of the ship. So it's less, I would say it's more like lukewarm than hot on the horror aspect. In other words, you can step into this. I think Nathan would be able to take this on. It is less scary as you step in, but it ramps over time. Yes. And actually, I would say that if I gave it a 2-hour profile, the first 30 minutes are quite spooky and kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. From like the half an hour mark to about 2 hours, I felt like it got a little bit repetitive. You weren't sure where you were. Every so often, there's a spike of, oh my God, what's that? Or you're being hunted or something. But after that point, when you start to understand how to work the ship and unlock various subcomponents in the game, it starts to really deliver. And the roguelite elements in the game are very effective at making you want to go taste more. So very well-crafted game. I'm now about 5 hours maybe into Cosmodread in my gameplay time. And I'm totally interested in both finishing it, in other words, beating it, but also unlocking all the bits that it's got to give. So that's a good game. Yeah.
Is it a bit like where, when you played Alien Isolation, they first show you like, the xenomorph, you're like, okay, damn, this is gonna escalate very quickly. And then you get super scared, and then at a moment you start to get more about, I'm observing like things, and then you use that in your favor. Is it a bit like that?
There's unfortunately, it's maybe I've given it it's not a Hallmark experience. You do not get a peak that you're going to be scared by a creature, and then you get to see them later.
The first time you encounter them, it's like extremely scary. You're like, holy crap, what just happened? But then later on, it's like, okay, you see them a second or a third time, you're like, okay, now I know what they're doing, and it gets like, But I mean, that's how you play Dread Halls too. You're like, oh, that's the one thing again. Okay, we need to go the other way around, and you casually just playing it.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's with every horror game.
There are fun permutations. The one thing I would say is, if I was to compare it against a game that I kind of feel like recently on Quest, for example, feels very similar, was what's that game? It's just gone out of my head. Bloody hell! It's the one. It's a first-person shooter. Crashland. Thank you. Crashland.
Right.
Crashland was way too difficult, like right off the bat. But it has similar kind of shooting mechanics. Obviously, this game is very different in that you can fight back, right? You can craft things in a 3D printer, essentially, a fabricator, and those mechanics make it feel a lot less like Dread Halls, and quite a bit more like Monstrum. Monstrum was a game where you start on a ship, it's procedural, you've got bad things chasing you down, and you're on a timer, just like this one, you're on a timer, because you're going to run out of oxygen canisters. And you can manufacture some, but you're trading off on some really interesting dynamics they got in the game, which is basically you got these battery cells, which allow you to light up rooms, because it's very dim still. And you've got to decide, like, do I need oxygen? Do I need light? Like, what are the things that I need to be able to survive to the point where I can get off on, get away on the ship? So
it's an awesome mechanic.
It's a nice balance, and that's what I would say is that.
So it's not annoying to be having to worry about that.
I don't find it annoying. I actually think that this is why I said artistry, right? I really feel like Sergio and this dev studio have gone from being like the short fuse game, which is Dread Halls, to more like a medium fuse game. And for a roguelite, one of the things that really turns me off of a roguelite is if I don't feel incentivized to keep playing. And I feel like it does an adequate job of incentivizing you to keep playing. And the scope of it has changed quite a bit. So for example, you've got a map on your wrist, and in Dread Halls you had a paper map. the paper map of Dreadhalls would show you everything except for there'd be Fog of War. In this one, you can only see like a small arrangement. So you can get lost on the ship and you kind of have to learn it as you go and remember where you are in the labyrinth that is spawned procedurally. So it's quite an interesting game. Mike, I'm really curious. I've been talking for like 10 minutes here now. What are your thoughts on the game?
So you know when you really like a game when you go to bed and you're thinking about it. Like that's a good sign of a game that's like completely hooked you, and that's totally is what happened with this game, Cosmodread. Like so I started playing it and then I got early access to it. So thank you to the dev for reaching out and giving me early access. And then I was just playing it and playing it and playing it, dying over and over again, but learning each time something new. And you get different weapons. So sometimes you'll start with a crossbow. Sometimes you'll start with a lightning gun. Sometimes you'll start with a pistol. Pistol is the best, by the way, in my experience so far. And then you're searching the ship for different colored keys to unlock different doors. You have to get the ship's navigational system up and running, then other parts of the ship to eventually sort of finish the game. And I got very, very far. And I think this is what you sort of touched on there is like the tension that starts building. Yeah. At the beginning, you kind of feel a bit like safe within the first 30 minutes, but then it becomes very risk-reward sort of strategy. It's like, oh, I've got to get these cells to the warp drive to power it on, but I can't do two things at once, and there's going to be some monsters in the way. And then like it also throws surprises your way. So when you start to think, oh, this is getting predictable, it will throw you a curveball and you're like, I've never seen this before. Like you walk into a room and then electricity will just spark off the ceiling and that can potentially kill you. Whereas you could take out the power cell and then that won't happen, or there'll be a steam vent or there'll be a fire vent that will just shoot fire out and kill you.
Because that's what I saw from the trailer compared to like Dreadhalls. It's a bit more Indiana Jones-like with traps and stuff that you also have to watch out for now instead of just things that spawn in.
It's like the Hunger Games in space. That's what there's things out there just trying to kill you constantly. But there are things that you can craft. You've got to look for blueprints, which then you can use to unlock different items from the fabricator, like a 3D printer. So you gather resources, chuck them all on the 3D printer and print something. I've only locked like maybe a handful of stuff right now. Nothing's particularly useful yet, but there's like 40 odd things you can unlock blueprint wise. There's also audio logs that you can get a bit of a context to the story and why you're there and what happened to the ship before you arrived, which is really nice.
It's well done.
Super nice.
Yeah.
And like Zim said, each run, even if you do die, you unlock modifiers, so you can change the way the game plays the next time you jump in, which then adds even more replayability to the game, even if you finish it. So you could say, okay, now I want to go back with less health, but I can run faster. Or I've got more inventory slots or less inventory slots, or some of the monsters are replaced by crawlers, for example.
That is so fun. Have you done that? That is amazing. That is so
horrible.
It is absolutely horrible. Like I thought, I was like, oh right, I think I've seen that creature, and then I put this mod on and modifier, and then I went into the game and like it's the face huggers almost. They're almost like face huggers crossed with spiders, and they're hoppity, and they go on the ceiling and the wall and they come at you, and it's like it's terrifying because like what Mike's saying, like health is something that you don't get a lot of in the game, and when your health gets damaged, like one little thing can kill you then. And if you're this is the point, this is the weight I really appreciate in the design of the game, is that like you get to that point of momentum or progress where you really don't want to lose.
You don't want to lose it.
And the thing I would equate it to best in my VR gameplay experience is I used to play Subnautica on hardcore, which is if you die once, the game is over. It wipes your save file. And I was like 20 hours into this, and there were times when like you'd almost run out of oxygen and you were like going to the surface, or something would blow up in your face and you almost die, and you really felt like you were, your heart's beating, everything's going, and that adrenaline run is amazing. So that's what is carrying me back to the game, is that the initial part is like setup. And that first 30 minutes is kind of rudimentary, but it's still interesting. And then when it starts to get interesting in the second half, the story, it's enough of a delta that it's not the same story every time at that period. Different things have happened to you. Like in my latest run, I couldn't find the bloody door key, and I'm like going through everything to try and find it, and at the same time you're like, okay, I'm just gonna use up all my batteries to trade for oxygen just to buy me 5 more minutes, you know? So
yeah,
it's really cool. And it feels like you're surviving. It feels like you're trying to get off this ship, which is
definitely. Yeah. For me, it felt like it was giving me real Dead Space vibes. You know, I was a real big fan of Dead Space back in the day. The audio design is spot on. So you hear ship announcements. You know, like there's warnings going on in the background. You hear creatures moving about. The ship itself is like creaking and clanking. Yeah. You know, it's got this super creepy vibe to it. I really love this game so far. I can't wait to jump back in and play some more and finally finish it. I was so close to finishing it. And then something happened that I'd never seen before. I was like, what the heck? I actually messaged the dev and I was just like, dude, what the heck is this? Like, this seems like totally out of order. And then I saw a live stream from a guy called Bearded Banjo, who played the game. And like Zim says, you know, you got to keep replenishing your oxygen. And he got to the very end segment, like there's a final sequence. And he actually ran out of oxygen during the final sequence and died.
Yeah.
And died.
And died. Yeah.
After putting an hour and a half into a single run. So yeah, if you're into this kind of game where you like live, die, repeat, you like roguelites, then definitely go and check it out. If you like spooky games, go check it out. I'd highly recommend it. It's £10, 99 pence in UK money, $14.99 in the US, and I think it's an absolute bargain.
But this is totally welcome because we are seeing so many shooters, for example, on the Oculus platform, and also Steam in a way, that these kind of things are rare, you know, and it's fun to be playing something else. This is a genre that is like unique.
It's actually, to be honest, like since, and you guys know I've been VR horror stuff since the beginning. I've played almost everything that I can get my hands onto. It really does feel like a horror experience that if you aren't into horror experiences, you could actually get into. Yeah. It is less punishing than like a Dreadhalls or like an Affected or The Persistence. All of those games, not for non-horror players. I honestly think that you could get into this, and it's a bit like, I gave this horrible analogy, which my wife said, this is absolutely the opposite, but I'm going to give it anyway. It's like wasabi peas. If you've ever eaten wasabi peas and you're sitting there and you're munching away on a bag and you don't realize it, and before long you just can't feel anything anymore, I think that's going to happen to you with Cosmodread. I think you're going to go in and you're going to have all these like little, like almost like the little stings of fear, but you're going to manage, and before long, 6 months later, you're going to find that you're playing horror games proper. And you're going to be like, why is my soul numb, Zim? Why can't I feel anything anymore?
Converted.
God.
Yeah. One thing I also want to mention is just quickly about the weapons is that you've got an inventory system, and they've smartly put the ammo on your left shoulder. So when you want to reload, you just grab for the ammo on your left shoulder, a bit like Alyx, Half-Life Alyx, which is really smart. I just wish that kind of the inventory system was the same to put it back in, so you didn't have to open it up every time. You could just dump it into your backpack.
We should definitely talk on the little gripes, because there's maybe that was one of my gripes. The inventory system is like a dynamic inventory slot, so it slides along and stuff. If it had been fixed, it would be far easier to put things in and out of your bag. I get it looks sexy, but it doesn't work great. And then the other thing is, like, particularly on PC, I don't know if this is the same on Quest. I've played both, but I've noticed that as you're trying to grab something and put it into your inventory, if you touch the side of an object while it's in your hand, it'll knock it out of your hand and drop it to the floor.
It does that,
and it's very frustrating. And like the point that you mentioned, I can grab ammo, but you can't put ammo into your pouch, and it's actually a standard now in VR to be able to stick into your pouch, and like especially when you've got things coming at you, enemies and that, it would make sense. The other thing that I have is just audio. So audio design is good. It was good in Dreadhalls as well, and the kind of stuff that creaks and groans or shrieks at you and freaks you out a little bit, even when there's nothing there. I think they kind of went a little bit too high on the volume scale there. I don't just mean sheer volume. I mean, you hear a creature very clearly right over your right shoulder, for example, and there is nothing there. And it's illogical. So I think they need to do some editing on that, because in Dreadhalls I thought they did it a lot better, and the environment...
more spatial.
Like you could hear something behind a wall, for example. Here you can hear stuff behind a door, and that's totally fair. But hearing something and then there not being anything there...
It's just like playing a knock-knock sound effect.
I got a question actually from Sampler 19. Sure. How much of the game is actually being procedurally generated?
Just the layout.
The layout,
the level
correctly.
layout.
So I thought you guys said I might be wrong, but that the PC version was more interesting to play than the Quest one.
I've been playing on virtual desktop.
Yeah, I use virtual desktop as well. I've actually done Quest.
What's wrong with
honestly, when you step from PC to Quest, the Quest build, you're like, oh, I can see everything. Right, the PC version is bloody dark. It is pitch dark, like it is black. And the fog, the volumetric fog, the like feeling of fog moving, is there. The Quest does have fog, which I was surprised about actually. I don't see that in a lot of titles, but I would say that the brightness level is just the base brightness level, and the Quest build is noticeably more lit. And then of course you've got textures and things like that. But to be honest, once you've been playing for like 10 or 15 minutes, the Quest build is a really good parody to PC from my experience. If
you have the choice, just play on PC.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
If you don't, of course, don't worry.
You're not going to notice. You're really not going to notice the difference.
There are still games that you should be playing on your PSVR headset.
Man, yeah. Great game. Great game. I'm so happy.
I gave it a buy.
It. Yeah, definitely buy, in my opinion. And for the price as well, I think, the replayability of this game, you get a lot of value out of that. So definitely recommend that one. So let's move on then to our second game that we want to talk about this week, and this is Zombieland. So this is one that Nathie and I have played. Nathie's spent significantly more time in the game than I have, but I wanted to jump into it this morning just to sort of check it out. And this is the thing. So when I first saw this game, I saw the trailer, I was just like, oh, God, another zombie game. Do we really need another zombie game on Quest? In VR, we've got Arizona Sunshine, we've got The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. And the gameplay that I saw, like the Quest native gameplay that people are captured in videos, again, I thought was very boring looking. I was like, oh, this game looks drab. Like, I'm not going to be interested in this. And then I actually played it, and I was like, this is actually really good. Like, I'm actually having fun with this game. Like, this is the thing. Like, the way they marketed this game, or the way it's been portrayed in videos, I don't think does this game very much justice. And I think as well, like XR Space, I think the company name is, that made this game, developed this game.
Yeah. XR Games Limited.
They originally sort of marketed this game on IGN, like as a kind of multiplayer sort of mashup.
And Eurogamer.
Yeah,
with the pancake,
Yeah, and they kind of showed the trailer, and they did this competition between 4 streamers. Project Jamesify was part of it. And the thing is, I think they just marketed this game at completely the wrong audience. Like, why would you target IGN for this, which is predominantly pancake gamers, or Eurogamer or GameSpot? Because those videos got downvoted to hell on YouTube, and they didn't really spend much time or effort marketing it to the VR market that were actually going to buy the game. But again, I think they could have done a better job in just sort of portraying what this game's strengths are, rather than just showing the visuals and relying on the Zombieland brand. Because really, those are the things that don't really do the game particularly much justice. Yeah. It's the actual gameplay that does. And maybe you can talk about that a little bit more, Nathie, the actual gameplay.
Yeah. So I agree. Like it doesn't play like a Zombieland game. If you are a fan of the movies, this is not going to be a thrilling Zombieland adventure with a storyline and everything, and also things that are inspired by the movie, like the Twinkies or Bill Murray's house, things like that. Also, the environments you play in are has nothing to do with the movie. It's just a good light gun shooter. Without really the Zombieland IP. I don't think it has much to do with that. There are the characters in there from the movie. They look quite nice, I gotta say, and also the menu is cool. But the moment you step outside of the menu, it's just a nice solid shooter. But it's just that, as you said, they were marketing this as like Zombieland. There's not much Zombieland about this. But the thing that makes this so addicting is the scoring system in combination with you having to speed run. It's not about just finishing a level. No, you have to do it as fast as possible, and the faster you do this, the more stuff you unlock, because you have this toilet paper that you can collect during your runs, and this is the currency of the game.
COVID.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks, COVID.
And with that, you can upgrade your guns. So the faster you finish these levels, the more upgrades you have, and the more also perks you get. And you can use those in other levels again. So it's a constant loop of replaying levels in a fun and new way. It's like repeating, but it's not getting repetitive. It's like a nicely, like we were talking about Medal of Honor, right?
Yep.
Like this is a nicely timed game. It's not too long, it's not too short, it's not too hard, and it's not too easy. It's just in the middle. So from the gameplay side, I think they did an amazing job, but just the visuals are just ugly. Like it's just not a pretty game at all. It's like you just step back into the PlayStation 2 or something, you know?
I saw the trailer and I was like, dear God, there's so much HUD. Like, like there's so much stuff flying around.
Yeah, you can't turn it off. You can't turn it off.
That already really ticked me off. And also I get it. It's like it's just not a game for me, I think. Like the being fixed in place and then hopping between different points and then shooting stuff.
But some games,
it doesn't really appetize me that much.
Like
it felt like what I was watching was like Time Crisis, but then with zombies.
Yeah,
but isn't that what it is?
Good analogy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good analogy because that's pretty much exactly what it is. It's an arcade shooter where the emphasis is getting on the leaderboard. You know, like once you've gone through the single player levels, you then join part of what they call the invitational, which is the online leaderboard aspect of the game. And the idea is to keep running through the levels to get the best score and rank on the leaderboards. And if you're not like a competitive person or a competitive player that really is driven by competition like that, then maybe you might want to give this a swerve because it doesn't really have.
So wait, is this game very is there a campaign to play through?
No, it's not a campaign. There is not really. Yeah, well, I mean,
what I'm saying is it just levels and it's arcade shooter But do you unlock the levels as you go, or is it
you do unlock the levels
and you unlock levels, weapons, perks. Toilet paper, also you have achievements too that you can unlock, and you also have a shooting range. Those are, well, in my opinion, not that interesting, but they are there. So if you want to spend some more time in the game, then.
But I would just say, from me, like I was judging the book by its cover, and I shouldn't have done that. Really, I should have given it the benefit of the doubt and jumped in.
I don't blame you on that. I mean, honestly, like when we spoke about this, I told you, I played it, and the trailer looks bad, I know, but the game is not so bad. The mechanics are quite nice, but the trailer was like, the thing is, like this game, the only problem it has, and it will always be there, is that it just doesn't look nice and not exciting to play until you play it.
It does, exactly. It looks better in the headset. And the gameplay feels more fast-paced and fun whilst you're playing it rather than watching it.
I'm as someone who hasn't played the game yet, I look at it and I go, kind of like what Rowdy was saying, like I get turned off almost immediately by it, and it's like, it's like I've seen people, streaming it. I've seen videos of it. I've seen the trailer. None of it looks, as a VR vet, right? None of it looks appetizing. Yeah. But I recognize that, for example, on the HUD point Rowdy's making, you guys know I'm very similar. I hate HUD. Things like Iron Man make HUD work, right? And things like Until You Fall and stuff like that. So I look at this and I go, okay. And the thing that I like the most, you guys mentioned it, right? But calling this a like-on shooter, like House of the Dead or Time Crisis, we need something like that, actually. We don't have that much on Quest. I mean, there used to be like Dick Wild and stuff like that back in the Vive days, right? Which were good fun, well-crafted games that were just literally to have a blast in.
This one is solid. It's just, it doesn't look that good. That's the problem.
And I don't care about looks that way.
No. But the thing is, like from a marketing perspective, it looks to me like it needs to look good to a certain degree. But this game just has a problem in the visual aspect of it.
Like you said, it's PS2.
It especially needs to look good if you're going to try and market it to the non-VR gaming audience and try and sell VR based on this game.
That was just a mistake. That was a mistake.
The comments on that video were just savage. They were like, "Oh, welcome to mobile gaming 2010."
It didn't advertise VR.
You can't really complain, really. You can't argue with that too much because it does look that way.
It does look like that.
I will just say that the levels are like roughly about 1 minute each in length. So it is about blasting through it and building the combo by getting double taps on the head. So let's double tapping the headshots. That's how you build up the combo and the high score. And the more you do that, then the faster you get through the level.
Well, you do those missions, and this is just the first time that you do it, is so, for example, in each level that you speedrun, you have to find one item that is hidden away, and that item will give you a perk, for example. I don't remember what it gave you, but it could give you a perk, and this perk could be you get a laser sight to make it easier to aim. It could be like doubling your toilet paper. It could be what else is there? Oh, you can make the game even more difficult. That's also a perk.
Double ply. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are a lot of perks that make it spicier. You know, you can also have more like stronger weapons together.
Gee, I don't know if I want that.
Stronger toilet paper.
I'm really curious though, because you mentioned this double tap mechanic, and it's kind of a slowdown along with the bonuses that are running that I understand. It's kind of like bullet time. Does it feel like playing pistol whip then, to some degree?
I suppose in a little bit, because you got the reload mechanic is more like Arizona Sunshine actually, because you pop the mag out and then you bring the gun down to your waist where the ammo belt is,
and it automatically reloads for you.
Yeah.
All
right, that's okay. I think that works perfectly well for like a rail shooter like this. Right?
Yeah, but all I would say is, I think if you're into that leaderboard style competitive game, go check it out. Yeah. If not, then you want something more story driven, don't bother with it. Go check
Arizona
out.
Sunshine's a better option for you then, yeah.
That's what I was so disappointed about, because you have the Zombieland IP, then the game itself is not really about Zombieland. I'm sure they had to pay a lot of money to get this IP, right? But then you have the movies, you have all these awesome scenes from the movie, because the first movie was amazing, I thought. To have, for example, a mission where you have to find a Twinkie van, and steal the last Twinkie, and then you get swarmed by zombies, or having to break into Bill Murray's house without getting noticed. Like different missions in between, but it's just doing one thing very well. Well, I'm like this, like just take off the Zombieland thing and just say nice leg. I get it. Like you sell more copies when you call it Zombieland, but I wish this would have just been a good light gun shooter, and we would have gotten a Zombieland game later,
Yeah. No, I get that.
They could have bended it though, kind of like the Servios equivalent, right? When you take the IP and you try to leverage the IP and you don't do a great job of it, it can sink your ship. Maybe they're safer to have gone this route,
Well, it didn't sink their ship. They actually survived because people played it and they left reviews saying like, oh, the gameplay is actually nice. And that was a problem with Servios. The gameplay was also not really
what I mean is like, right, take Rick Grimes for example, from the Servios game, for example, for The Walking Dead. In Onslaught, like they took the IP and some of it they did it justice and some of it they really butchered it. And in the end, it makes you feel like, I don't know if you did the series justice. As a fan of the series, coming in, ticketed with the title of the game, you're going to feel a little bit disappointed. What I'm saying here is, if they stay completely away from it, and they're using the IP only to get attraction on the store shelf and sell the game, then actually I would prefer that they stay the heck away from Bill Murray and the things I love about Zombieland, and just give me an arcade shooter. Like, I think this is totally acceptable.
And to be fair, like the parts where you do see the characters, it is in line with the characters of the movie. They say the same lines, they've got the same, they look the same.
They look the same.
But it does look way better in the headset than it does in video. But it's better than I thought it was going to be. Is my sort of takeaway from it.
Like honestly, like I remember saying like, this is gonna get 4 or 5 stars on the Quest store, and even when I was saying that, I was like, I'm not so sure anymore. But now it's out and it actually has 4 or 5 star reviews for some reason.
It's because the gameplay is good, not because it looks good or it's got an in-depth story.
People love dumb games. Like, they do. They're just like dumb and fun. Why not?
Yeah. Price-wise, it's a bit more expensive than Cosmodread. It's $14.99 in British pounds, $19.99 in US dollars. Personally, I think they should have sold this at a lower price, the same price as Cosmodread. But if people are willing to pay it, then they're willing to pay it.
Yeah.
So that is Zombieland. So two pretty decent games, very different. Will serve different audiences, which is great. We've got some variety there. So that's our thoughts on those 2 games. So now we've got some other news to get into. The next bit of news is a gentle reminder that from last week's show that now you can get a handful of PSVR games for free, along with some Pancake games during PlayStation's Play at Home promotion. So the Pancake games available are The Witness, Abzu, and Enter the Gungeon.
Oh, Abzu. Beautiful game.
Nice game. Yeah. PSVR games are Moss, Astrobot, Paper Beast, Thumper, and Res Infinite. Astrobot and Moss. They're so great.
Oh, God.
For free, it's nuts. Like
for free.
So visually as well.
So you can add these games to your PlayStation account now, and you don't need a PS Plus membership to keep them. You can add them, but however, you just need to bear this in mind. You've got until the 22nd of April to add them to your account. But what I discovered this week, and I asked for some more clarification about, is that apparently you do have to install them on your system to keep them.
Oh.
But if you're like me and your space is a premium, then you don't have to worry. There is a little workaround that the community were kind enough to share their little tip with, and that is that if you add these games to your account, then start the download, then cancel it, it still counts as being added to your account permanently, and they'll still be there indefinitely. So that's a little hack.
I did that this morning, actually, Mike. It's funny because I did the same thing. So not having a PlayStation anymore, I use the online web browser to go basically you do add to library is the thing you do. And then after that, you say download, and it does download queued, and you're ready to go. It's
queuing to that PlayStation that is like on the junkyard somewhere.
So that's the way to do it, even if you don't have the hardware right now. You just need a PlayStation account, do it on your phone. Yep. But yeah, these are great games. Like we said on last week's show, if you're planning to get a PS5 and a PSVR 2, these are some amazing additions to your library before you've even got the headset. So it's a good way of getting some content there.
If you can get one, that's the only problem,
Yeah.
Well, I was focused on the trailers. Maybe you said this already, Mike, but the time phasing is the thing that I found to be the most odd about the release. So some of the games are available now. Some will only be available in a week or two. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, is only available then a bit later. But from a VR only perspective, those are available now. So
yeah, I think Horizon gets added around the 22nd. So when this promotion ends, they launch Horizon Zero Dawn as a free game, which again is awesome.
Something interesting that I noticed as well while I was playing on my PlayStation 5 is that you can stream PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 games, but would that also work with VR titles?
I believe so. I believe so. Like, I haven't tried it, but I believe the system is the same from the PS4 Pro, so you can stream directly to YouTube from the console. But of course, now with the PS5, you've got the HD camera, so you could add your own body cam to the gameplay.
I mean, like stream. I don't mean streaming to YouTube. I mean streaming a game, playing it. Like streaming the game that is still running on a server. Like a shadow PC.
Oh, you can't do that with PS5 games. No, not yet. Not
well,
PlayStation now.
You can. Like I played a few games, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 titles, and I streamed them to my PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like, no. Like right now, VR games are not, but that might be something.
Oh, right. You're talking about PS Now for VR.
Well, yes.
Right. Yeah, it's not a thing yet. No. But yeah. So that's the way you can get some free games added to your PlayStation account before you've even got a PS5, or if you've got a PSVR and you haven't played Astrobot for some crazy reason, just after the show, go and download it and play it.
Maybe I don't get this. Like, how does this work business-wise for Sony? Like, I get the PlayStation Plus part because every month you're baited, fish-hooked into, the 2 or 3 games that they're giving away for the month, which keeps you stay with your subscription. This, however, seems to have no hook. What's the catch in this? What is the business side? Where are they making money on this deal?
The promotion behind this is to play at home and play safe. So it's all about like people being at home with being in lockdown with COVID, playing games.
Yeah, I'm like Nathan. I'm like, where's the money here, right?
Of course.
How does this drive sales? Like Steam isn't doing this. EA did something like this where they were just giving games away because it brings you to the store.
Well, I believe that if you are playing one of those free games and you're enjoying them, that you're willing to spend more money.
Yeah.
Well, because like there's the Humble Bundle thing, right? Which is like, okay, we've got game number 2 coming out, so let's launch a Humble Bundle where you can get our game for $1, and then it incentivizes you to convert and buy the second game that's just coming out in a month. Yeah. They do that a lot, so I didn't know if maybe it was that, but I didn't see any obvious corollary with the games that they had on offer.
But also, like, the news around PSVR 2 is kind of heating up a little bit, so giving away PSVR games.
But did they do this last year? I don't remember this. That's why I'm curious.
Well, I do remember them giving away free games, but no Astrobot as far as I know.
No, not a VR push either. So this is amazing, though. I'm so happy. I know we've said this on the PSVR 2 related episode, but like they're really pushing, and I'm so glad they're really pushing the VR side.
Watto UK says PS5 is still not ready yet. Activate the NVMe slot. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with this, they actually have a second slot in the PS5 that you can add another SSD drive to it, like a normal M.2 NVMe drive.
Oh, right.
But they haven't activated it yet. So you can install one, but you can't use it yet.
That's weird. So they're just software locking it at the minute, is what you're saying?
Software locking it at the moment, yeah.
Overall, if you own a PlayStation 5 now, it all feels a little bit experimental and early adopter. I mean, I wanted to change the theme of my profile. That's not even a thing yet. As you said, like games are not even supported. So it's kind of nice to have, but it's just sitting there waiting for the actual fun stuff.
Yeah, that update is apparently coming this summer at some point, the extra drive update. But I need it because I'm running out of space already.
Oh, wow.
Warzone is like 120 gig alone, so...
I'm not surprised. What is it? Just a terabyte that you get with it?
800 something, right?
Yeah, once the system's taken up the space, you've got
that's tiny. Yeah, that's tiny for that quality system. Like,
especially when games are like 40 gig minimum on average. You know.
I'm glad I'm waiting.
That is PlayStation news. Final bit of news this week will be great news if you're a VR live streamer. So Zim might like this one.
Oh.
Or if you want to multitask in VR at the same time, maybe watch Netflix or something. Because Steam VR just had a dashboard update this week, and the new dashboard update makes the dashboard menu look a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. But the one cool feature that really stood out for me is that now you can pin your desktop or an application window to your controller. So this is useful, as you could pin the pop-out live chat window to your controller. So when you're live streaming VR, you can quickly see what the chat's up to and respond to your audience, which is really nice. And VR streamers have been using an application called Overdrop for a while to do this. I have done it myself as well, personally. But it is a little bit tricky to set up. It's not particularly user-friendly. You kind of have to understand the application's quirks a little bit. But this is super, super simple. You just press on a couple of buttons in the menu, and then you've got your chat strapped to your hand, and it works really well.
Wait. So does that mean that if I, for example, fly my ship in Elite Dangerous, I can watch this show?
Yes.
Or when I'm in Microsoft Flight Simulator with 2 FPS, I can still watch the show, but I have to just bring 1 FPS down to still.
Dude, it's 2021. No one knows what Elite Dangerous is anymore, man.
Although you can't pin a window yet. It's just locked to your controller, as far as I understand.
Oh, okay.
Whereas Oculus Dash, you can pin windows, but I don't think you can do that in this Dash yet. It's just tied to your controller movement, so you rotate the controller, and then
you can basically have an F.Reality wrist. You can just watch the podcast while you're in your games. Job done, sorted.
The cool thing about this is, especially if you're a live streamer, because resources are valuable and you want to get the most frame rates for your live stream, is that it's not as intensive to use this built-in application through Steam rather than running a separate application like Overdrop, and it's free, of course. So that's also very useful.
Nice.
I'm planning to test this out. I'm sort of toying with the idea of doing a Cosmodread live stream maybe Thursday, so I'll probably test it out then and let you know what I think. But I think it's really neat. I tested it out a little bit and did a little video for the stream, so you can watch it now.
So we're gonna see a 2-hour live stream of you just looking at your wrists all the time?
Pretty much. Okay. Yeah. So look forward to that one. Put it in your calendars.
Yeah.
I don't know what calendar you have, but
so that's the news. We got through the news. We made it alive, and the stream is still alive. So that's good so far.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
That's where you turn it over to me. No.
Don't you dare.
We still got to talk about the Decamove.
I know.
That's a hot topic this week. So I teased about it on last week's show that they had sent through the Decamove module. This is what it looks like if I can get my camera to autofocus. There you go. That's what it looks like. Crispy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little clip-on module. This is 3D printed, but the final version, will be. Although I do have small hands, just bear that in mind. Baby hands for size comparison. So this is 3D printed, but the final module will look better. But they were sending this out to content creators and people to test out. Because obviously this is a small part of a bigger puzzle. They're creating a new headset with new controllers that's going to be coming out later on this year, which I'll talk more about at the end of this segment. But this is a part of that sort of setup. So what this is if you're not familiar with what it does, is that it's a hip tracking module. And initially when I talked about this, I was like, why would we want a hip tracking module? And it was Zim actually that sort of said, actually, this is going to be useful. And what it does is it tracks the rotate.
That was Rowdy.
Was it Rowdy?
It was definitely Rowdy, yeah.
Sorry for giving Zim your credit, Rowdy. But basically what it does is it tracks the rotations of your hips and then adds that into the VR game. So basically with Half-Life Alyx, for example, you've got head movement normally where, you point the thumbstick in the direction you want to move and it will normally follow your head, or you can set it in some games to your hand, so it will follow your hand's movement with a gun, for example.
The reason why I find it so useful is for hip thrusting for certain types of VR games.
It doesn't add any hip thrusting to any types of games, so don't listen to Rowdy.
I'm joking.
Hip thrusting. What it does, poor Alyx, my God.
What it does is that you can push the thumbstick in the direction you want to go, and it would go in the direction your hips are facing, which means your hands and head can move in completely different directions independently, and it won't track change the direction you're going. So you can strafe essentially in VR. And this is particularly useful in games like Half-Life Alyx or Population 1, where you want to sort of run in one direction, look in one direction, and shoot behind you, for example, blind firing. You could do that now and it would totally work. So setup process was super simple. Basically, it comes with this little dongle, so I can show you this if my camera will focus. Basically, like a USB dongle with a little antenna on it. You plug that in, and it pairs to the module straight away. The module is charged via USB-C, and it just paired instantly. Then I had to do some like rotations, to show you the different axes that it can track. And then once it was calibrated, just put it on my belt, and that was good to go. As soon as I launched Steam VR, I could look down and you would see this kind of like Decamove overlay. And that overlay kind of shows you the battery status of the module. And it also gives you an arrow indicator as to which way your hips are facing. So it's pretty smart that it kind of overlays into these VR games pretty seamlessly. If you don't want to see that overlay, you can turn it off just by pressing the button once. And it'll turn the overlay off, and just press it again, come back. And then you just push and hold on the button to turn it on and off. That's pretty much as easy as it gets. In terms of calibration, I've heard some people say that it can drift sometimes in games. We've got to bear in mind this is kind of like an early version of it. But if you stand still and face forward with your head and your hips at the same time for about 2 seconds, that recalibrates it again, and then you're ready to roll again.
But is that drifting maybe because of the connection as well of people? Because, I mean, connection could also be...
Yeah, it could be like, especially if you've stuck this in the back of your PC.
Yeah, especially if you have it full of USBs already, and it's going to kind of...
Yeah.
The chat wants to know, Mike, if it works with Siri.
It's not compatible with Siri, no.
But the compatibility is the thing that actually made me really interested, because Deca reached out and they're like, "Hey, we want to ship you one." I was like, not interested. And then I started to see the videos popping up, and I'm like, what games does this support? There's actually a pretty good list of support, and the fact that it's got that like integration that you were demonstrating with the ring and the battery status and all of that. It's pretty nifty, I know you demonstrated Alyx, and we were showing some of Mike's gameplay there, but like Skyrim supported. That got me hot straight off the bat, and it's like that's pretty cool.
Wait, so how did you approach them after denying their technology?
Let me look at my.
Please, I'm sorry.
It's like oh shit. Oh, that's funny. I opened my phone. Viper says, "You got a contact for Deca? Thanks, Lonely Viper. Appreciate it. I'll share my contact."
So talking about games, like Zim mentioned, Skyrim is compatible. Half-Life Alyx is compatible. We've got Boneworks, Hyperdash, and Population 1, just to name a few.
Nice.
The whole list of supported games is listed on their website if you want to go check it out.
Jumanji VR?
Sadly not. No? The Rock will be very upset that it's not.
Oh, that's disappointing. Yeah.
But yeah, like I would just say it works, and it works very well from what I've tested it out so far.
Plus,
and I was surprised, because initially I was like, why would I want something like this? But now I kind of understand it.
Yeah.
And I think
they're doing a lot right, actually. Decagear. I'm actually interested in seeing what they can deliver.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like this stuff is very promising. Where first we started off a little bit skeptical with, of course, their headset. We were mainly talking about their headset, not about the Decamove. But this is seeming to do really well, and it works. Yeah. So I'm curious what else there is going to be. Of course, making a headset is a total different ball game.
But the thing what I said back then as well is like this is old technology that already exists. It's just a matter of putting them together and like making them work together. And I think that is the challenge. But it's not like they're really like inventing some kind of new kind of technology. It's technology that is already existing. It's just the way that they implement it is, I think, very well done.
And that's the whole, like their whole pitch. If you read their website about like the Decamove and the Decagear, for example, they talk to that exactly. They talk about the features that they want to see in a headset. And they're like, we're going to put all this stuff together. And they talk about also about having a relatively small team. And from an engineering perspective, like what Ratty was just saying, they're really just the glue. They're just kind of gluing that stuff together. Kind of like what Palmer did back in the day when he saw that, mobile displays were reaching the point where, hey, I could put this in someone's face and we could get a nice stereo image going, taped it together, showed it to Carmack, and boom, 7 years later, we got things like hip thrusting in Half-Life Alyx. So,
you can't hip thrust.
Not to say that is
I'm
easy.
going to stop.
Not to say that is easy, though. Huh? Like,
No,
I mean, it's still
no.
You mean
No.
hip thrusting, you mean?
hip thrusting.
I think Mike was showing us last podcast how to do that.
Yeah, that was last week's show.
Maybe that's why your watch got confused, Mike.
Yeah. So just to quickly state, like, this is only compatible with Steam VR right now, although Deca are working towards having this compatible with Quest in the future and native support with Quest. So that's pretty interesting. This module in itself is $69 US, and you're going to be able to buy that soon separately from the complete package. Talking about the headset, and like you guys rightly said, at the beginning we were very skeptical about the company, because a company coming out of nowhere and making hardware in the VR space is very difficult, as we know. Even established companies like HTC have made massive mistakes making hardware in the VR space. So it's not an easy job that they've got ahead of them, but I am less skeptical now, having seen them implement this. The UI and everything, the menu system, the software was very user-friendly. So I'm more optimistic now.
Well, maybe this is also a part of the whole marketing strategy and the push towards the headset. I don't know what their plan is with the headset, how they are going to launch it. I just hope they are not going to go for the kickstarting route.
Oh, no, they've already done it. So
okay.
So with the headset, just to give you a bit of information about the Decagear, because it is an interesting headset as well. They opened up pre-orders a long time ago, and actually they closed those pre-order window today, in fact. So you can no longer pre-order the Decagear headset. I think they were so overwhelmed with the response from the community that they kind of like overstretched themselves a little bit. So they closed pre-orders for now. They're aiming to ship at Q3 later this year. The headset, just to give you some like standout features, it's a 2160 by 2160 resolution per eye display running at 90 hertz. So same as the HP Reverb G2, which is a very nice display. Uses 4 external cameras for inside-out tracking, so similar to Quest, and it's got kind of like a hybrid controller that looks kind of between Oculus Touch and Valve Index controllers.
So the money is already in, basically.
Well, no, because they were just $10 pre-order secures. They weren't actually full down payments. I was one of those people that did that as well. So it's just a case of the actual headset bundle itself is very cheap. It's $449 US for the headset, the tracker, and the controllers, and it's got all this tech in it. Oh, and it's also got face and eye tracking built into it as well.
For
$450.
Very nice.
And it makes you look like Darth Vader, so that's a perk.
Yeah.
Very, very cheap.
A question from chat, though, Mike, on the Decamove.
Sure.
I presume there isn't any force feedback with the device on your hip.
It does have a haptic feedback motor in it, which you feel when you turn the device on and off, but they don't activate it for any feedback in game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate that. And also, I appreciate the design of it, because it kind of looks like a Tamagotchi, and I miss that from back in the day.
Oh, God. I remember killing someone's Tamagotchi when I was on a boat once.
What?
And then I was stuck on that boat with that person for a week, and it was
what happened? What did you do?
we need this to be a part of the podcast, please.
They were like, can you feed my Tamagotchi? And then I like went onto it, and for some reason the battery was loose or something. It just reset the whole thing. And then she was like, forever just blame me for killing her virtual pet. Bloody Tamagotchi.
It wasn't a gerbil, I hope.
No.
Wow.
So yeah, talking about Decagear just very quickly, they also are making a wireless adapter for the headset. So to make the thing completely wireless, called the Deca Air. That's only $50. So if you want to buy it with the Deca Air, it's like $500 for the whole package. I'm still very skeptical about whether they can deliver it at this low price, and that's why I wonder if they close the pre-order window. Once they got the pre-orders delivered and they've delivered them for that price, then the price might get hiked up.
Well, it's nice to see at least someone creating a full circle of like accessories and headsets and everything. I mean, that's something we don't really see.
Yeah. It's very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. And it works like, seamless. I was up and running within like 5 minutes.
So I'm really curious, like aside from Alyx, like for those of you who are excited about this, chat as well, like what would be your first go-to with this? I mean, obviously they're showing off Pop 1. Yeah.
I think you've actually got an advantage to a certain degree, because you can run and blind fire behind you if you're running away from a combat situation. You can't do that natively with the game.
That's a good point.
Because if you had it on like gun tracking, you'd be running in the direction of the enemy, and if you had it on head tracking, then it would just be following your head. You could do it, but this is like you could be looking multiple ways with your head whilst running away and blind firing at the same time.
So let's say you play Onward or Pavlov competitively, then this is going to be a game changer.
Potentially. I would love to see like someone like Lonely Vipers take on this, like being a real competitive player, and whether this would maybe constitute as some sort of cheat in a competitive match.
Does it also work in games like Lone Echo? Or not Lone Echo, I mean Echo Arena?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think it's supported, but also because that game's in zero gravity as well.
That's
anyway.
true, but I was like, maybe.
No, but I understand because your hips could still direct you forward, for example.
Like Shakira once said, your hips don't lie.
Hips don't lie.
Especially Mike's.
Especially mine.
Yeah, wow. My God.
So there you go. That is the Decamove. It works if you're interested at $69, or you can hold out for the full bundle, which will be released in Q3 this year. But it's likely, well, my guess is it's likely going to be more than the pre-order price that they advertised anyway. Okay. There you go. So now it's time for Zim's releases. Got some juicy ones this week. I'm excited about these ones.
There's all kinds of things happening this week. It's about 7 things we got to talk about. So some of them we've touched on already, so I will make sure to fly right through those. First off, the game we were talking about a moment ago, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the podcast, is Zombieland. So again, as we were saying, it's a zombie killing race, and it's a light gun game, essentially, right? So we said House of the Dead, Time Crisis in VR, and that's Zombieland for you. It's very much a headshot-driven, short sprint game, and for $20 or £16, that's now available on Quest. Landed on the 25th of March from XR Games. So that's Zombieland Headshot Fever on Quest. Next up, if you like your shooting and you like it a little bit rougher, then Doom 3 VR Edition on PlayStation is coming. So 29th of March, that's just 2 days away now, on PSVR. This is something that we saw originally, the Dr. Beef mod that came for PC players, and they've been playing it for more than a year now. Now we've got this coming from developer Archiact on PlayStation VR. So a VR edition of Doom 3 is coming, and it's interesting because this actually includes the DLC that dropped for the original game as well. So there's 2 expansions, which are called
The Lost Missions?
The Lost Mission and Resurrection of Evil. My printer is slowly dying, and my paper is having trouble here. Aim controllers supported. That's probably the most exciting thing about the whole thing. And they have retuned some bits of the game. So, for example, textures have been upscaled, sounds have been redone. I think we can thank Mick Gordon for raising the bar on that one with the Doom OST when they rebooted that game. And some things like what we were talking about HUD before has been moved to the weapon instead of been floating in your face and stuff like that. So I was watching actually GT play this a little bit earlier, Gamertag, and game seems to run pretty smooth. One of the things as well that he commented on, which I was specifically looking for, is the pace of the game slowed down, because Doom VFR was slowed down and it didn't feel like Doom. It felt a little bit like, I don't know, Doom turned into Mario all of a sudden, a bit sluggish, you know. But no, it's a full pace Doom experience, which is good. And he said it was feeling comfortable for him, so that's good. If you're into the kind of like white knuckle VR, if you're a Quake or UT player from back in the day, you like your fast paced FPSs, Doom 3 VR is now available for you on PlayStation VR 2 days from now. So.
It's 2021 and it's launching on PlayStation VR. It's crazy, right? It's crazy.
It's weird because this is like this news was really unexpected for Doom 3 to get, you know, VRification after Doom VFR had happened, right, in 2021. This is a very strange kind of array of events. I'm super excited for that. It looks great. I no longer have a PlayStation, so if I'm going to cry over anything, this is kind of the game.
How long are we going to have conversations every Saturday with you not having a PlayStation? I mean, this is going to take a while, right?
Yeah, but dude, like, again, with the Canada move, it makes no sense for me to have UK electronics, right? So I would have to sell that anyway. It's going to be worse when I have to sell my wheel and other things that plug into the UK sockets. So
honestly, I would trade in my food for a PlayStation to just drag it with me on the airport. So
you can use a
definitely have my
transformator, by the way.
Yeah, Transformer works, but I've been that way this way. It shortens the life of electronic. There's a whole bunch of reasons why not to do that, but we'll save that for another off-podcast discussion. We don't want to bore them all to tears, Rowdy. Before we start sharing waffles or something on the other side. So let's talk about hands now. Get our hands dirty into this next one. Hand Physics Lab, which is a game that, if you've seen it, is quite naughty. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do in this. This started off as a side quest game, really was high up in the store, really well rated game. But essentially, it was one of the first games to really make use of hand tracking on the Quest platform, and it gives you this really weird feeling because you can detach your hands, you can cut bits off of them. Like, there's a whole bunch of different things you can do. You can do finger painting and painting eggs and playing with little skeletons, and the whole thing is just bizarre, to be honest, but it's really fun, and it's done in this monochrome environment with like color popping and these fun little creatures that you can just have a play with. This is now landing formally on the store, and I love that we're seeing not only virtual desktop, but now this game. So side quest games are actually coming to the formal store. Hand Physics Lab's there. If you want to play with a kitten and get your hands on it, play with some puzzles and stuff, Hand Physics Lab is coming shortly. Very excited for this one, actually.
I mean, at some point, these games become so big that there is no denial that you can't have them on the store anymore. And I think we're getting to that now, where there's so many players that there is no excuse. You just have to do it. You have to just pull the trigger.
Yeah, and it's not just that. The point of inflection, I think. So think about this. Like, if you're sitting in a boardroom and you're saying, my Oculus Quest can do A, B, and C. But there's developers out there who made it, for example, play wirelessly, who also made proper use of the hand tracking feature that we've got. That's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the augmentation of third-party content showing off and being a selling point for the Quest. At what cost to Oculus, right? They just have to say, let it through. So this is the point of inflection. I agree completely. What would be next is my question. I wonder what would be the next thing that would make the conversion. I have to think about that one for a minute. One thing I wanted to mention as well, if you're into hand tracking, there was an update of dev friend of mine behind Cubism. Cubism is a game that looks like kind of three-dimensional Tetris, if you want to call it. It's a really tough puzzler. Looks easy, is quite fiendish, but now it's come out of the kind of alpha or beta of the hand tracking, and that's come out in release. So you can actually play Cubism now with hand tracking. So it depends if you want to do constructive gameplay, like Cubism, building things up, or destructive gameplay, slicing your hands off, then you might find that in Hand Physics Lab. Okay, next one. This one, coming out of the left field, we've got a game called Starcaller. This is PSVR, and Quest App Lab will be coming shortly. For £16, $20, Monarch Studio on the 2nd of April is landing what I can best describe as WarriorWare VR. This is a ritual-driven game where you are trying to, as fast as you can, puzzle solve in virtual reality. It's quite a good-looking game, actually. So you take those kind of elements that you would normally find in room escape games or puzzle games, things like The Room, for example. We're fans of that. Except for you're doing this as quickly as you can, and there's kind of a leaderboard with it as well. So there's 30 different puzzles that you have in this, and they are flung at you, and you have to solve, I think, 12 of them to complete the ritual. Once you've done this in a certain time period, you go on the leaderboard, and you're there globally set. It looks like very slick. The design of the game looks lovely. And this is from Dennis Kubert. So I believe it's single dev, which is really surprising because the game looks like it's well more polished than that.
Yeah, and it looks room scale too, right? I mean, this is like a little room that you can stand in and just go from one place to the other.
Exactly.
So I played it this week, actually. And like you say, the puzzles, they actually come at you by all four sides. So you can work on one puzzle, then quickly move to your left, and then work on the next puzzle, and then they will rotate as you've completed them. Do you know what I mean? The new puzzles will merge in. The really cool thing about this is that if you've ever heard of the show The Crystal Maze, you'll love this, because what it does is once you've completed the puzzles in a certain amount of time, it buys you time at the end in like a little arena part where you've got crystal shards raining down. And when there's a blue portal, you've got to throw the shards through the blue portal, like in the Crystal Maze.
Oh, when you grab the gold leaf.
The gold. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, amazing.
But the portals change color. So sometimes it'll be blue in front of you, then it'll appear blue behind you. So you've got that kind of scramble to get all the crystals in. And that's how you rank on the leaderboard.
Oh my god!
It's through the amount of crystals that you throw through the portal.
Wow.
Oh.
It's really, really smart.
What did this dev make before this game?
I have no idea.
Nothing.
I didn't look. I don't recognize the name. It's not a
because
dev that I've
looks very,
seen
it
before.
looks very good.
Looks very good.
Like,
very polished.
Where did this dev
really
go?
nice.
You know, where we needed this dev.
The thing I want to ask you, Mike, is the snaked ropes puzzle as satisfying as it looks? Because it looks bloody awesome.
Yeah. All the puzzles are really well laid out, and they just ramp up in difficulty. So yeah, it's pretty frantic. It's good.
So this is not like Myst.
It's way more casual than Myst.
So you don't need to read a book first to
bring a pocket calculator.
No, thank God.
Or learn a language.
The one thing I will say is the replayability is probably not so great because you'll probably play through this a few times and then
you can get faster, right? I mean, if you know all the puzzles, you can like speed run your way out of it.
The variety in the puzzles isn't particularly amazing. Do you know what I mean? They do ramp up in difficulty, but it's all about getting the speed and ranking on the leaderboards. Again, a bit like Zombieland. If you're not leaderboard competitive driven, then you might not like this in terms of the replayability that it has.
Very good. All right, now we're into the lickety split fast bit of the mentions into this week. So I wanted to cover off a game that I played on Oculus Go, Daedalus, which is actually dropped now on App Lab. That's from Vertical Robot, the same people behind Red Matter. Beautiful game. Really. It's quite simple, but it really there's only a few titles on Go that really stretch that platform, and to have this now available to Quest owners, love it. People who have played the original game have said that again the visuals, the way they've remapped the controllers, etc., really sing for it. It's something that you would sit down with. It's a real easy game to kind of sit in a chair and just play away and enjoy yourself. It's visually stunning, really, really nice.
It's kind of like one of those super chill games. You get into like that kind of meditative state when you play it. I certainly found that anyway, playing it on Go.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Old but still lit, right?
Old but still lit, yeah. And To the Top as well is another game that's dropped. So To the Top is the opposite. Kind of, because this is as frantic as you get. It's a game where you're jumping, leaping between platforms. There's obstacles, and literally it's a run and jump, and it's kind of like the climb on I don't know, Speed maybe. And I would recommend both, checking out both of those games because now they're available.
The fact that To the Top is now on App Lab is a historical moment because it triggered the whole thing. It actually created App Lab.
It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, this whole business started.
And now it's on
game.
there. And I still think like the moment it actually gets to the official store, it's worth the party because, like as you said, 2 years of hard labor from all these devs to try to get this system done, and now it's finally there. And it's not like how long do we have the system now? Since
a
Christmas
month and a half,
or
maybe 2 months.
I don't know.
Possibly.
It's not that long,
No,
so I think this is a great moment, especially that To the Top is now on there.
They need to have a party, right? Then a To the Top party once they make it to the top, make it to the store.
They should.
Yeah,
absolutely. They've also got the sequel in the works as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
They do?
That we talked about a while ago,
So that's a couple that are coming. Floor Plan 2 as well, I just mentioned, is also coming, which is another solid game, re-releasing again on Quest. That's landing on April 1st. We've got quite a few devs leveraging April 1st as a release date. The last thing that I wanted to mention, just a bit of news, the people behind Standout, which is a Battle Royale game, and War Dust, which was a 32 v32 player multiplayer game.
What happened to that game?
I think it's still running. It's still available on Steam. You can buy it. I don't know if it's it had a lot of bots and things. But now they've made a Grand Theft Auto 5 multiplayer clone called GangV. Obviously, again, starts with the G, ends with the V. It's almost GTA 5, right? But this is a bit nuts, okay? This game looks absolutely ridiculous. First off, the map kind of looks like a rip of the GTA 5 world. It almost looks like an exact replica. I don't know if they did that. If they did, beware, because that IP's in risk, right?
I'm watching this. I'm like, this is like GTA.
It really looks dodgy, right? But what they're trying to do, this is really an interesting pivot, and this is why I wanted to mention it. So this is shortly going to be available for Steam Early Access. It seems like that's going to be within the next month or two. And I wanted to mention this because what they've done is they've made it so that it's a VR game. You can play in VR, but you can also play it flat. So you can play it as just a standard game. So that'll help them with their player numbers. Maybe, right? Maybe, but I think people would probably just be playing, GTA 5 multiplayer or something else. But if this really gets that population and you can drive a car, fly a helicopter, right? This kind of thing. They actually did succeed pretty well with the previous 2 games. Standout was a great Battle Royale title. War Dust had success. A lot of FPS people liked it. I just wonder, is this pivot now to kind of go from being solo VR game to VR plus flat gonna succeed for them? I'm curious. So that's
isn't this kind of like Battle Royale in disguise?
Yeah, so
and it's just the same game but with different assets.
Not quite. Sorry, I've not done a great job of explaining the gameplay. So the video that's playing shows very much a Battle Royale style game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The world itself, however, it allows you to, for example, take over businesses, earn money. With that money, buy upgrades, weapons, and stuff like that. So it's a lot more GTA 5 multiplayer-esque than your standard Battle Royale. And so there's a bit of, territorial domination here as well. So that's the part that really excites me with this title. Now, it's called GangV, as I said. This isn't out this week, but I wanted to give this as a kind of finishing punctuation mark to this podcast, that this is the kind of thing that we might see, and this cross blend of like 2D and VR might be quite interesting. It's an interesting strategy. Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know. Nice. Are any of you guys GTA 5 multiplayer players? You guys?
I have played it.
Yeah. It's a bit manic, isn't it? It's a bit crazy.
It's very addicting.
Yeah.
And it's like you're
got
living...
a platinum shark card.
Well, I did buy a few before I started to get them in a different way, but yeah.
Black market shark cards.
Oh, let's just say it like that. But the thing is, like living inside this GTA Online world, for some people, shooting and driving over people is the only thing they do. But it's also like a social world, where you could meet friends, buy things, do fun stuff together, play golf, etc. So yeah. For now, this is a great thing in between, I guess. Yeah. But I still have hopes that GTA 6 is gonna have some sort of VR support.
Oh, please. I think it's a must. I mean, Rockstar are smart. They know VR.
They experimented with LA Noire. We saw that it worked. Even for a part, it was quite impressive. So just make it happen.
It was. And just a quick recap on this week's releases. Zombieland Headshot Fever, that's on Quest. Doom 3 VR for our PSVR scene. Hand Physics Lab on Quest, and I mentioned the Cubism hand tracking update as well. Starcaller coming to PC VR, and that's on the 2nd of April. And we've also got Floor Plan 2, Daedalus, and To the Top. Daedalus and To the Top dropping on App Lab. You can go to applab.games to find that. And GangV, they're in our future. Keep an eye on that one. That's our
We need Floor Plan 2 because, our poor friend James, Project Jamesify, if he doesn't have that game, he's going to run out of money next year. He's milked the original one for 2 years. He needs more.
Poor Nathan's melting.
Anyway.
Oh, that's good.
We're going to round up the show. So I'll just quickly recap the times. Just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US, unless the times are all up the flute, which I have no idea what time it goes live.
You know what would have been funny if you would have said now, the show cuts at this moment. And then...
it does just normally. So you can check out the audio version on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed the live stream, and subscribe to the channel for all our future shows. Okay. And we'll be back next week.
I don't think I need to ask you what you are going to do after the show now.
We'll let Mike go back to his Siri now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's time now.
Got an appointment, lads. Sorry.
It's time to go.
Right, I'll see you a lot later. Thank you very much for joining.
Bye-bye. Till next time. Bye, guys. See ya.